Traveling for some of us can be a very exciting time. For others do need to do it for work as well. And most of us, to get from point A to point B, especially here in Australia, will have to travel for multiple hours at any one time. Now, for most of us, we are in a confined space, in a small cramped space. And you know, these sorts of things, especially if we're doing it regularly, can really lead to a lot of health problems. Anywhere from things like when you're at altitude in planes, for DVT. Also, it does change a lot of systems in your body as well, and can lead to things like heart disease and weight gain. For us though, what we can be doing as well is that when you are getting into your travels and when you are going from point A to point B, is to be able to get off that plane or bus or car or out of the car in the best physical shape possible. So let's go through some exercises on what you can do when you are traveling, whether that be ready to go to your family holidays, your sunny trip away, or even just for the usual business commute of every week. So a good initial exercise would be something like a neck stretch. So we could be taking our head, tipping our chin towards our chest, and then being able to roll your chin from side to side, opening out the back of the neck, trying to keep yourself nice and upright. Another variation for this would be keeping your head up, chest open, turning from one side, feeling that you can open up from the opposite chest, side of the chest, all the way over to your chin. Good, and then back, and then you'll be able to repeat that the other side. You know, and this is a great easy exercise, even to be doing, obviously not while you're driving, but you know, if you are a passenger. Another version could be down and around for circles. Just getting that neck mobile, because we do tend to want to sit forward, especially as we travel for long periods of time. It gets forward and forward and forward and more cramped. Another thing that we could be doing is something like a shoulder stretch. Once again, you're still seated in your chair. Hands could come forward and they interweave and clasp. As you push forward in through the shoulders to stretch the shoulders forward, and then breathing out, you pull them back. And forward to protract, and retract to bring them back. Trying to keep the back of your head close to the headrest of the chair, and the back of your ribs. Another variation could be pulling up, pulling the shoulder blades down. Good. And usually, even for economy flight people, this position is quite accessible. You might have to adjust your wrists as you come up from the person in front of you, from the chair in front of you, but you know, great little sort of stretch there for you as well. The next exercise, something a little bit more for your hips and your glutes and your low back, could be a knee hug. So what you want to do is you want to press one foot down into the ground, yeah? The opposite leg will come up, and as you bring that up, you want to grab yourself by the front of the knee. If you can't handle that with your knees, you can pull behind your thighs. As you breathe out, press that knee or hug that knee towards your chest without clamping forward. You want to stay nice and upright, and then back. Good. Pressing down through the opposite foot, you'd repeat on the other side. And you continue repeating this probably about 3-4 times each side. And this can be done intermittently out throughout your flight, your bus trip, or your car trip. Now an exercise for our spines and our ribs. Something like a seated spine twist would be perfect. Okay, so especially in a confined space, it is easier to do it putting your hands across your chest. You would press down through your feet, breathing out. As you feel like you're trying to wrap your rib cage around itself. Another interesting feeling would be sort of like if you could picture your lungs and the two lobes of your lungs twisting on themselves as the back lung, so this side, just wraps around the lung on the other side. So they're trying to spin around each other. That way you'll get like a nice high axial rotation as opposed to sort of twisting and dropping around. Another good exercise for the ribs and the spine is a seated roll down. So the same deal, nice to press your feet back into the floor again to get the pelvic activation, and also sort of that lower abdominal help as well to lift out. You would just breathe out, let your arms roll down between your legs, let your head and shoulders roll off the chair as you go down towards the ground. What you do want to make sure of though is that when you are going down to those low positions, that you are not just hanging off the back of the low back, and that you are picking up that belly and that pelvic floor to make sure you're supporting your spine and giving it a good release and stretch out through the back of the pelvis too. And now for an activation exercise for the back of the shoulders and that mid to upper back. Yeah, really helpful as well from that constant sitting, that we do need some reactivation to get ourselves back up, okay? So you could take any magazine and look, if you are in a flight, there's a magazine in the pocket in front of you. So, it's a really accessible way of getting it. You can use a newspaper or anything that's got a bit of a bit of resistance for it. And all you do is that you would bring that magazine or whatever you choose to use out in front of you, you grab the sides, and then all you're trying to do by rolling or wrapping the shoulder blades back around your back towards each other, you're trying to stretch that magazine. So what you're trying to do is actually pull your arms outwards by wrapping the shoulder blades around your back. Great exercise, you could do intermittently 10 reps and then have a rest. Our next activation exercise is for our inner thighs and our pelvis. Now I'm just using my water bottle, but you could use your travel pillow or anything like the rolled up blankets on the planes, whatever you feel like you want to use to just create a bit of resistance for your inner thighs. Whatever that object is, it goes in between your inner thighs. Once again, you're pressing down through your feet and you're just going to give it a squeeze. As you give it a squeeze, you want to feel like you're lifting up through the base of your pelvis and pulling the ribs out of the pelvis. And then you release. Once again, pulling the ribs out of the pelvis, and this time focusing on the inner thighs, just gliding up towards that pelvis to actually press whatever's in between your legs, in this case a bottle. Now it is quite subtle, so hopefully you can see a little bit of a squeeze that's happening, but you should feel that zip up come up into your pelvis when you do the exercise. So the next activation exercise we'll be doing is a lot more for that leg work and to get those lower extremities of the legs moving again. Great for planes would be calf raises. So you could be doing this standing up in your chair in front of you, or if you need something to balance on or hold with your balance when you're going to grab luggage out of the overhead lockers, you could be holding onto the overhead locker and just doing normal calf raises, everyday calf raises, working at pulling the heels up and zipping up through the back of the legs and then lowering back down. And you could do 10, 20 of these just to get you moving and just to get those ankles moving, the calves flushing some of that sort of swelling out. And probably to actually just feel a little bit more like you actually got some blood pumping again in your body, which is lovely. Our final exercise for our little travel exercise kit would be something like squats. Great activator of loads of postural muscles, but also muscles that start to refire different parts of our endocrine and which is our hormonal systems essentially. Plus it's great to actually get the blood flowing again and pumping, okay? You don't have to be doing this at your seat. Some people don't want to be that person that is, walking around doing all these crazy exercises on a bus or a plane. But, you could use, like when you are to go to the bathroom and you're actually in that cubicle yourself and you've got the door locked and no one's watching you, then's a great opportunity to be able to do your squats. It has enough space for that. So you'd be standing up nice and straight, okay? And then all you need to do is be able to bend your knees. And as you bend your knees, you're pushing your bum back. So it's a quick flex by both joints. And then the ankles will follow suit. Bring the arms forward for a bit of, balance, but also for some activation in that sort of mid to upper back as well. So you're pushing your bum back, dropping down and through. Look, and I'd do as many as you feel fit of these. You don't need to overcook yourself with it, but it is a great exercise. So that's it for that great little exercise series for travel and in transit. Perfect for you to be doing throughout your travels to be able to get to point B, whether that be at the hotel, work office, or even back home in one piece, where being able to address those sort of creaks in the neck, shoulders, back and pelvis. Enjoy.